Week 4 waiver wire. Today's my birthday, but I wanted to make sure I was here for you, the people. Not my best Bane impression, but that's all I got. Let's get it started. Do you have questions at quarterback? Don't worry, I got you. I can't believe I'm saying this, but Andy Dalton, he looked great against the Raiders. Gets to go up against the Cincinnati Bengals, and you know they are desperate for wins. And there's going to be a lot of scoring. And I think that scoring is going to go back and forth. Fire up your Andy Dalton. He was the first quarterback this year to throw for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. Wow. I think it's going to be solid while Bryce Young is out. How long is that going to be for again? Do the Panthers even know? Let's get back to the wire. He was quarterback 5 this week. Wild. Next up, we have Geno Smith. He's actually been pretty solid so far this year. Nobody's really talking about it. But he finished as quarterback 7 in week 1 and week 2. Now in week 3, he finished as quarterback 18, but that was more so because he was playing the Miami Dolphins who weren't doing anything. So he really didn't need to score. But going up against the Detroit Lions, oh, that boy's going to have to score. I think you can fire him up this week. Next up, Justin Fields. The kid has been playing pretty solid. Now, for fantasy football, last week was his first week where he was in the top 15, but he's been looking better. And he's always dangerous on the ground, even though he hasn't been running as much as he normally does. But he's been winning games, which keeps him on the field. Fields. Going up against the Indianapolis Colts, who don't really scare you. I think if you don't have a starter, he could be a solid option. I'm not super excited about it, but he has some upside, especially with his legs if he decides to run. Moving on to the running back position. Are you having a rough time with running backs? Don't worry, I got you. Starting with Braylon Allen. This kid has been really good, and he's getting more and more involved. The clear handcuff if Breece Hall goes down, but even if he doesn't go down, I think that he's going to have standalone value. Depending on the matchup, he could be flex-worthy, especially with all these injuries that we have in fantasy. It's been crazy. Also, if you haven't seen this man play football, he's a big boy. 6'1", 235, and he is hard to tackle. I like it, Picasso. Next up, Bucky Irving. The kid looked good on the ground. 9 for 70. He also had a few targets. I like that. Rachaad White had a groin injury a week or two ago. I'm not sure if that's lingering, but Bucky Irving is getting more and more involved. Definitely worth an ad, especially because he's a good pass catcher too. Next up, Emmanuel Wilson. I was very surprised when he had 12 carries this week. Now, I know they gave Josh Jacobs a crazy amount of carries the week before, but dropping him from like 30 plus to, 14? That's crazy. Emmanuel Wilson is getting involved, and I definitely think that he's worth a handcuff. I don't know what his standalone value is going to be on a week-to-week basis, but he does also get involved in the passing game, and he had a receiving touchdown this week. Not bad. Definitely put him on your radar. Cam Akers was okay last week, saved by a touchdown, but the Minnesota Vikings defense has been pretty good. So I'm not quite sure if that was him or the defense. Either way, if Joe Mixon is out again, Cam Akers is going to be valuable. And because every time I make a video, somebody comes back and says, bro, none of these guys are available in my league. I play in a serious 10-man league. We have 8 bench spots. It's competitive. All right, they don't actually say all of that, but you get what I mean. These dudes in my comments, like y'all are the only ones in deep leagues. I'm in a 14-team dynasty league. You don't hear me complaining all the time. Anyways, keep coming with your questions. Whatever. I'm going to butcher this guy's name. What's his name again? I thought it was Tyler Batty, but I heard that it's not Batty. It's called Tyler Bidet. Interesting name. But again, this is only for deeper leagues. He had 9 carries for 70 yards. That's not really sustainable, but with Javonte Williams being bad and Jaleel McLaughlin mixing in there, Tyler Batty could eventually emerge as a thing. For deeper leagues, he might be worth a stash for a week just to see if he stays involved. And just keep him on your radar. Running backs, you just need to check to make sure they're not on your waiver wire. And yes, most of these people are rostered, but you should check anyways. Chuba Hubbard, only rostered in 60% of leagues. That means in 40% of leagues, he's out there. Grab him now. Andy Dalton is not Bryce Young. He can actually run a solid offense. This one's a lot less likely, but Zach Charbonnet, rostered in 80% of leagues. That means he's going to be available in 20% of your leagues. Probably not out there, but worth a check. And then we have the Chiefs backfield. Carson Steele, running back for the Kansas City Chiefs, only rostered in 60% of leagues. And Kareem Hunt, rostered in 27% of leagues. Surprised that it's that low, Maybe people really just believe in Carson Steele and Samaje Perine. I don't think they would have brought back Kareem Hunt for no reason. Y'all do remember he used to play there, right? Now, I know he's older, 29, but a lot of this offense is knowing where to be and what to do, and Kareem Hunt's been there and done that for this team. I think he could be pretty useful. Are you weak at wide receiver? Don't worry, I got you. Juwan Jennings, he should already be on your roster because I told you to pick him up last week. And I say that worked out. Wide receiver number 1 on the week. Wow, I'm cooking. The 49ers had so many people out. Jennings just had to be involved. Christian McCaffrey out. Deebo Samuel out. George Kittle out. These are bona fide studs that are going to get the ball. It had to go somewhere. And because Brandon Ayuk decided to not show up to work, Jennings dominated. 11 receptions for 175 yards. Only rostered in 34% of leagues. Grab him now. Next up, Darnell Mooney. He went 8 for 8 last week for 66 yards. That's nice in a PPR league. And 8 targets is good for a receiver. That means he's going to be involved. Definitely worth the roster spot. Only rostered in 49% of leagues. That means in over half the leagues out there, he's available. Got to follow the targets. My man had 9 targets last week. Caught 7 of them for 60-plus yards and a touchdown. You like that? Now, this one's a little interesting because Brock Bowers did end up going out, so I'm not quite sure how correlated these two are, but he was the number 2 wide receiver last year for this team, and I can see him being more viable moving forward. He's a good receiver. Wan'Dale Robinson looks like he's getting involved. He's had 8 or more targets in 2 out of the 3 games. Daniel Jones seems to be focused on 2 people. Malik Neighbors, of course, but also Wan'Dale Robinson, who 8 targets is a solid amount of targets. So in a PPR league, I think he's solid. Then we have Demario Douglas. He had 9 targets last week. Not really confident about this one in particular. The Patriots are really just a mess, honestly. There's a bunch of receivers here, but I do think the 9 targets are encouraging. I wouldn't start him immediately, but he might be worth the roster spot to see how it shakes out. Could be him. There's a few receivers fighting for the spot. There's a word where he gets it. And lastly, I know in some of y'all leagues, Deontay Johnson was dropped in looks like in about 20% of leagues. I know that he's not going to be available in your league. Just check. You never know. Are you having a tough time at tight end? Don't worry about it. I got you. Cole Kmet. Yo, he came out of nowhere. Caleb Williams was slinging that thing this week. He threw for over 300 yards. That's awesome. But more importantly for this waiver wire, he was spreading the ball around to Cole Kmet. The other tight end, Gerald Everett, only had 1 target. Cole Kmet came through with 11 targets. That's tied for the most out of everybody on the team. And he turned that into 10 receptions for 97 yards and a touchdown. Go grab Cole Kmet. I also like Tyler Conklin. I liked how they used him, and he got more involved this week. 5 for 93 yards. Pretty good. Aaron Rodgers is still figuring out where he wants to go with the ball. Tyler Conklin could be solid. He likes reliable pass catchers. These next 2 tight ends I'm not really excited about. I think it was more situational. For Noah Fant, they were going up against the Dolphins. JSN really didn't get involved. DK Metcalf didn't get as many targets as I would normally expect. I'm not really excited about this one. Same with Cade Otton. I think this was a product of the Pat Surtain effect. Pat Surtain was on Mike Evans, meaning they don't want to throw it to Mike Evans that much. They got to go somewhere else. He went from averaging 2 targets a game to 8. Yeah, that's a big jump. Sounds like something that may not repeat every week. So I know that y'all were going to ask me about these 2, so I just wanted to give a heads up on my thoughts. Are you desperate for a defense? Don't worry, I got you. The Tennessee Titans going up against the Miami Dolphins, the new worst team in the NFL. Unbelievable considering how much talent they have. Wild. Once they get a quarterback, they'll be back to being great. For now, play your defenses against them. It's easy as that. Moving on. Poor Dolphins fans. Next up, the New Orleans Saints going up against the Atlanta Falcons. Falcons don't scare you. I mean, their season high is 22 points in a game, and they have a quarterback that doesn't really move very well. Probably get a couple sacks, maybe get a pick. Plus, the Saints are mad at that last loss. I think that defense comes to play. Plus, it's a divisional matchup. It'll probably be close, and I think it'll be a little lower. Lastly, the Las Vegas Raiders, and honestly, this one feels kind of gross. After they played the Carolina Panthers and got cooked, I'm pretty sure their score was negative last week. This was bad. But Antonio Pierce called them out for their effort, so I think they're going to at least play harder this time. And they're going up against the Cleveland Browns at home. Deshaun Watson has not been good. The Browns haven't scored more than 18 points this year. And Deshaun Watson leads the league in sacks. He's been sacked 16 times. And he has 5 turnovers, 2 picks, 3 fumbles. So you get Deshaun Watson, who hasn't looked good in a while, on the road, being the most sacked quarterback in the league, and he has 5 turnovers. I think the Raiders should be a solid defense. I get it if y'all don't want to do that, but some of y'all desperate out there. Raiders, I think they should be solid. This has been a crazy year in fantasy football. We've got injuries galore, upsets left and right, blowouts, but we're 3 weeks in. This week I'm going to be taking a look at the landscape. I want to see where everybody sits, who's underperforming, overperforming. So I'm going to be doing some grades soon this week, and it's about to get interesting. Click this playlist here if you want to check it out. I got a lot of things coming your way soon. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell down below. I've enjoyed spending my birthday with you. It has been fun. Good luck on the wire this week. Peace.